Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so we are on to our next lesson, and this is going to be kind of a big one. I feel like this is going to take at least two videos. As you know, these videos can only be 15 minutes long, and so there's a lot to cover in this lesson. So let's get right at it. So what we're going to be doing is we're working towards game design, right? You guys are working on code, and what we want to eventually be able to do is create a game. And so what you'll see here is with this the hen here, as we get closer to game design and making our own projects, we want to be able to plan out our game. All right, and so far you guys have been following instructions and learning the tools and whatnot, but as you get to the point where you want to make your own things, you need to plan things out. And so when you look at like each of the demonstrations that I've done the planning, I've kind of gone and like thought through the logic and then given you the instructions. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at that process of breaking this step by step process down so that we can kind of know what we're approaching and how to code that. Okay, so um, what I ended up doing was, let me show you what we're going to be doing. So the shell game looks like this. Okay, it's called a shell game. A shell game is this. Okay, you've probably seen this before, where there's a ball and it's hidden, and you got to guess where it is. Okay, that's called a shell game, or a cup and ball game. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing that. So we've got three eggs, and one of the eggs will have a chick in it. And so we set a variable. Okay, so I click this. It sets a variable, and every time I do it, it gives me a different number. Okay, randomly. Okay, and what it's doing is it's setting a position, and then I've got to press on my keyboard 1, 2, or 3 to try and find the chick. So I know it's 2 because I've left this on. So if I hit 2, it'll tell me that's correct, but I'll show you 1. So if I hit 1 on my keyboard, it says that's wrong. Okay, I'll do it again, 1. Okay, so it shows me that 2 eggs are wrong, 1 and 3 are wrong, and I hit 3, it shows me that 1 and 3 are wrong, and I hit 2, and it says you found me. Okay, all right, so let's look at how that's done. And before we actually build this, I want to show you this here. Now this is getting into what we'll be doing when we get into our next unit. What we would have done here, so we're doing intro to code in Flash. What we would have done is game design, and game design we start to look at some of the things that happen as you're creating a game. One of the lessons we do is called flowchart design, and there's a whole lesson here. And we're not going to do the whole lesson in this unit, but it made sense, I think, to talk about this here. Okay, and this is essentially when I go back here, if I click on this lesson, what you'll see is we start looking at flowcharts. Okay, and you may have already done some flowcharting before, I'm not sure, but we're going to look at it in the capacity of game design. Okay, and so what I've done here is I've created a flowchart of what happens in our game. So let's take a look at our game. So what's happening here? Well, we have a variable. Okay, a variable is being set. There's the flag that resets things. We've got these eggs here, and they are running some kind of logic. When I press 1, something happens. When I press 2, something happens, and then it resets everything. So there's a few things happening, and what we need to do to make this work, or to at least be able to plan it, is we need to be able to break this down kind of into chunks, into kind of sizable pieces, and then be able to go, all right, let's approach the code for this thing. Let's approach the code for the hen, approach the code for each of the eggs, and those positions. Okay, and so let's take a look at what's happening in the game. But before we do, I want you to think, maybe pause this video right now and think about what is happening in this. Okay, because I'm gonna show you in a second, but I want you to think about what's happening. So there's a variable, okay, and you know what that means. There's 3 numbers, and 1, 2, and 3. How's that done? And where would that code be? Okay, and then how do I do this? When I set it to 1, what's happening? Right, I've got sort of 3 positions. How do I tell the egg? How do I tell it which one to be? Because if you'll notice, if I hit 1, this is a costume. Remember costumes, right? So if it's reset it to 2 now. When I hit 1, it's a different costume, right? That's showing me a different um, egg or a different sprite. Okay, if I hit 2 now, there's that same sprite with that costume. So how did I do that? How did I change those positions? Okay, you've got to think that through. and build your code accordingly. Okay? All right. So you can pause it here if you want to, and you can just maybe look at the game and try and figure out what's happening, because I'm going to move right into this part here where I show you my flowchart. Okay, so this is a flowchart. Now this is not actually exactly following there's a structure that a flowchart is meant to follow, but I've simplified it for our purposes because we haven't learned this yet. But here's what's happening. Okay, this is basically the process of the game. So we start the game, and when you start your game, three things have to happen. Okay, the hen is prompted, okay, which means this hen says, let's start a game. Okay, so the hen does a prompt and says, press 1, 2, or 3. Okay, that's it. Hen prompt, say, click 1, 2, or 3 to find my chick. Okay, then it's got to generate a random number between 1 and 3, and we see that happening. Okay, I click this, it generates my random variable 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2. Okay, so that's randomly being generated. Okay, that's the second thing here. And then reset all positions and costumes. Okay, so I've got my eggs, okay, and they are in a given position. We don't know what those are yet because I haven't talked about it, but it's got to reset those positions, and it's got to set them so that the chick that is inside the egg is in position 1. She's here, not here, and not here, right? So if I hit 2 on my keyboard, okay, not there, 3, not there, 1, that was where that chick was, okay? And now, when I reset this, now I've moved it to here, okay? So I've got to reposition, that's this, reset and reposition all costumes and all broadcasts, okay? Oh, sorry, broadcast reset, okay? So that's how that happens. All right, so that's the setup, okay? Once that's done, we've got to do another thing. We've got to now broadcast, and that happens here. We broadcast our reset. We've then also got to broadcast so that the code or the game knows where that position actually is, right? So we set this variable to 1. We have to now say, okay, just so you know, code 1 is the position of our egg. Okay, so we've got to broadcast that because the egg and the chicken will be listening for that broadcast. Okay, so if the variable is 1, okay, so here our variable right now is 1. So if the variable is 1, let's broadcast position left. If the variable is 2, broadcast position center, and if variable is 3, broadcast position right. And all that's doing is saying, where is the egg going to be? Is it here, here, or here? Okay, is it 1, 2, or 3? Okay, and that's just we could actually just have done this twisted with the 1, but I think it's easier to send a word position left, center, and right. Okay, and then it's going to reposition the eggs accordingly. So if your variable is 2, it's going to say, all right, well then it's center, okay, and let's move the egg with the chick in it to position 2. If it's if your variable is 1, then it's going to be left, and we're going to put it in the left position. Okay, so it's going to move. They look the same, but there are 3 different eggs or 3 different sprites, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. Okay, all right. Once that's done, once we position our eggs and we broadcast what the position is to the code so that it's listening, we have to wait for input. And waiting for input means that the player, or the person playing the game, has to press the keyboard. They've got to make their guess, right? So we go here, we start our game, and now we just wait. Okay, so there's a waiting delay here where we wait for the person to hit 1, 2, or 3 on their keyboard. Okay, so here's our waiting. And then we have to find out what they did. Well, did they press 1, did they press 2, or did they press 3? And depending on what they did, we've got to then say, okay, well, if they pressed 1, are they right? Okay, so we're waiting for their input. There's their input. Check if correct. So was the input 1? So if they press 1, we go, okay, they pressed 1. Is 1 what the variable is? So here, let's look here. Right now, I press 1, and when I do, it says, hey, is 1 the right number? Yes, it is. So do something. Okay, so press 1, is the variable 1? Yes. If it's 2, is the variable 2? Yes. Okay, press 3, is the variable 3? Press yes. And if not, then it goes to no. Okay, no, no, no. Okay, and so there's basically 2 outcomes for any of these, right? If I press, say the variable is 2, and I press 1, is the variable 1? No, it goes to no. If the variable is 2, I press 2, is the variable 2? It goes to yes. Okay, so it's just basically flow charting through our options. Okay, so I say variable 1, it says that's right, yes, and it's going to say if I pressed 1 and the variable is 1, then that's correct. It says, okay, you found me. Otherwise, it's going to say you missed. Okay, so here we go. 1, I'm going to reset this. It's 2, I press 2, it says you found me. Okay, and so it says found or missed, and it broadcasts this information so that the eggs can do the things they need to do, right? So when I say 1 here, okay, the chicken or the hen has to do something, okay, and the egg has to do something, right? So that's got to say you found me or try again or whatever thing has to happen. That's got to happen based on found or miss, which are broadcast. Okay, you found me, show the costume, or say try again and show an empty egg costume. All right, after that, we go back to start over or reset. Okay? All right, so this all has to happen before you ever start coding your game. And I have done this every time so far, but what you guys need to start doing is sort of thinking that through, because when I tell you, for one of your assignments coming up, I'm going to say, okay, make a game. Well, I'm not, not going to be that loose, but I'm going to say, make a tic-tac-toe game or make a whatever game, rock, paper, scissors game. You've got to then think this process through, all of this stuff here. You've got to think that through and be like, all right, how do I make that? Okay, so let's take a look. I'm gonna start a new document here. So rather than use this one, I'm gonna go to a new file. So I'm going to go create new project. Okay, and this is here. We are on 6.7 intro scratch. Yeah, 6.7. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to call this St.Romain demo 6-7, and you're going to name yours as well, your last name dash 6.7. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is set up. So we're going to set this up based on what we need, okay, based on this and based on the game. So the first thing we need to do is set up our sprites. We do not need the cat, and we are going to need a couple of things. We're going to need the hen, hen. Let's see if I can find it like this. There, okay, I need the hen, and the other one I'm going to need is an egg there. Is that it? No, not that. I think it's check. Oh, hatchling. All right, so those are the two we're going to need, and we're going to set those up. I'm going to rename this one check. Then I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to call it egg. Actually, I'm going to call it empty egg 1. And I'm going to duplicate it again and call it empty egg 2. Okay, so now we've got our 4 sprites. Let's just take a look. These are the same sprite. Let's just take a look at what's in our costumes. So we've got a hatchling, we've got a chick here, and we've got, so this is this one here, peeking, and then we've got our chick jumping under the egg. Okay, so we're going to edit these. For the chick, this is going to be the position, or this is going to be the sprite for the found egg, and these ones are going to be empty. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of this costume by deleting it. We're going to keep this the way it is. We're going to go to empty egg. We're going to again delete the middle one, and here, zoom out a little bit, I'm going to click on this check here, and I'm going to delete that part. Okay, leaving just the eggshell. And the same thing with this one. I'm going to delete the middle costume, and I'm going to delete the chick. So now we've got three different eggs: empty egg 1, empty egg 2, and our chick. Okay, let's set these back to their original so that they all look the same, but we know that we've got different costumes underneath these. Okay, I'm going to pause that there because I'm running out of time on this video, and I will start up right from here on the next video. Okay, see you in a second.